Maria Magdalena Heinrich. I am the Women's Informal Network coordinator, one of the network coordinators for the Rome chapter. And we are connected from the Food and Agriculture Organization in Rome headquarters. I hope our friends online can all hear me well. I can see that we have several people connected. I would kindly ask everyone to please mute their microphones so that we don't have any interferences.
Okay, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. That's Chitra. Hello, Chitra.
Let me control. Just okay, here. Audio. Test. Okay, it works. So they have to activate their microphone because we can't hear them.
Okay.
But our audio works.
Ours is fine. Okay, so we can tell them.
We can hear you.
Sorry,
can you hear us?
Can you try to say something just to check our audio?
Yes, please. I am talking. Can you hear me?
We can't hear you. Is your microphone activated?
I think it is.
Is it better now?
No.
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 But you're replying. So how can you reply if you can't hear me?
Maybe I can ask if everyone is sharing or not.
You could chat it.
Could the others please confirm whether they can hear me? Alina, Marian, Valerie?
Their microphone is working. Because we can hear.
Can anyone hear me?
I can hear. Okay, so it's working.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
Now we can.
Excellent.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start now that everyone can hear and we're connected. Again, welcome to this lunchtime seminar of the Women's Informal Network. My name is Maria Magdalena Heinrich and I am, together with Chitra, one of the coordinators of the Women's Informal Network chapter in Rome. And today we have the pleasure to have a lunchtime seminar on digital presence. I would like to inform all of you that we are just about to start a recording of this session in order to make it possible also for people elsewhere and the ones who were not able to join us live today to follow this and see the presentation. So we'll start with the recording now.
It's already online.
It's already recording. Okay, so great. Okay, so the topic of today's discussion is the good, the bad, and the ugly of digital presence. And we have the pleasure of the presence of Roxana Samii. Roxana has over 30 years of experience working in the development sector on a variety of communication, social media, rural development, agriculture and environment related projects, and loads of things. And in recent years, with the upcoming of the digital technology, she became an expert on that as well. And she is one of the United Nations Social 500's most influential people. So, welcome to this seminar today. We were also hoping to have another colleague of ours from FAO, Gauri Salokhe. Unfortunately, she had to go for another very important meeting because she's following the Director General in a meeting today and therefore she couldn't come here. But we have her presentation that we will share, and Roxy will share some of her experiences, insights, hints and tips about what to do or not to do in order not to incur in any difficulties when we are dealing with social media, because we are always asked to use more and more social media. So I would like now to hand over to Roxy. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and it's truly a pleasure to be here with all of you and to see so many also familiar faces. I guess since you're all here, you're not amongst those living in a secluded hamlet without any kind of access to a digital device. And as you can imagine, today digital is part and parcel of our daily life. One thing to bear in mind that digital presence is literally more than just being present on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Your bank account, any transaction that you make online, the latest book that you bought on Amazon, the airline ticket that you purchased for your holidays, the WhatsApp message that you sent, the emails that you sent. They are all part of your digital footprint. And guess what? They're also subject to scrutiny by authorities. So what this means is that in a digital era, you have to understand that you are foregoing your privacy. Your privacy no longer exists. You are continuously being watched. So this myth about, oh, if I go on Facebook and I set all my privacy settings, then I'll be fine, truly is a myth. It does not exist. So you just need to get your head around that. Now, as UN employees, when we joined our respective organizations, I remember when I joined my organization, which was very many years ago, we were asked to sign a code of conduct, right? And at that time, it was a physical thing that we signed. That code of conduct has been, is, and continues to guide our work. As our organizations evolved, as the landscape of communication evolved, our respective organizations issued media guidelines, which we were asked to abide by and use it as a framework. And most recently, we had social media guidelines, which again our organizations have put out. These guidelines are there to help us. They're to help you as staffers to figure out what is it that you can and cannot do. They are not to be considered as a prescriptive thing, but honestly as a guideline. Now, it goes without saying that, at the end of the day, we're human. We're human beings. We have our likes, we have our dislikes. There are certain things we feel super passionate about. And there are times where, you want to say what you think. But again, as a UN civil servant, you have to exercise self-restraint, or better, self-censor. I want to share a personal story with you as to when I had to do exactly that. So back in June 2009, where this space was young and innocent, where there was no talk of likes or of influencers, of ads, of fake news, when this space was like really a learning and sharing platform, a revolution happened in my home country. And this revolution was dubbed as the first Twitter revolution. At the time, Twitter was a channel that was used by people back home to share with the rest of the world what was happening. The State Department, back in 2009, under Secretary Clinton, asked Twitter to postpone a scheduled maintenance to allow the people back home to share what was happening in their country, in my country. The hashtag Iran election trended. Everything and everyone went green, including the U2 at their concert. So as you can imagine, I was following all of that very, very closely, trying to, sift wheat from chaff and figuring out what was really happening. And I was jumping at the bits to comment, to say what I wanted to say. But as a UN civil servant, I could not question the legitimacy of an election that a UN member state claimed to be free and fair. So I had to exercise self-restraint. I had to self-censor myself. And so what I did is the only thing I could do was to vent offline with a group of trusted family and friends. I could not do it online. And perhaps it was very good that I didn't do it online. Now, the good news is that, you can still exercise self-censor and say what you need to say. Let me give you an example. As an environmentalist, I cannot go out and point finger at a member state who is not abiding by the Paris Agreement. But I can talk about the commitments that are being fulfilled by other member states. While as UN staffers, we cannot point finger to a member state who is bluntly engaged in an act of deforestation, but we can sing the praises of another member state who in 12 hours planted 350 million trees. Again, as an environmentalist, I cannot condemn a country that has arrested an environmental defender, but I can, day in and day out, talk about the risks that environmental defenders are taking to safeguard our planet, and talk about the important role that they're playing in this landscape. So when you develop this self-censor or self-restraint, it becomes part of your DNA. And you excel in it. Those of us, and there are people in this room, who manage corporate accounts really excel in it. They can say things without crossing that red line. And so that's what you need. That's what you need to do. And there are times where our respective organizations take a stand. In that case, follow the lead of your organization. So in my case, when we had an environmental defender being arrested, after a little bit of emming and awing, my organization then decided we're going to take a stand. And that then gave legitimacy to the social media team to go wax poetic about it, because there was the piece that the organization had put out, and then we could take that, and segment it and then put it out so that people saw that the organization was also behind something and gave the support to an environmental defender that was being arrested. And as such, also other staffers just followed the lead of the organization. Now, for those of us who have a social media presence, I want you to know that you are an asset to your organization. There is nothing better from an outside perspective to see people working in an organization talking about their areas of expertise. This shows the human face of an organization. It tells the outside world that there are real people working in an organization. And this is not just about the corporate account. Every time you read a blog post from a WFP colleague who tells firsthand in an I voice what is he or she seeing, that is worth a million times more than a story really well curated from a corporate account. It tells the audience that this person cares about what he or she is doing, and this person is putting their life at risk to help others. So if you do have a social media presence, use it. Use it to amplify the messages within your area of expertise. And in doing so, make sure you familiarize yourself with your social media guidelines, and all of our organizations have those, so that you actually work within their framework. And in your journey, I know I'm going to say something that may be controversial and may raise some eyebrows. Know that the communication division is your best ally. You you may have experienced, you've gone to the communication division at the 11th hour and have asked them to like do a miracle. Communication division has said, well, we're busy, we'll do what we can. You rolled your eyes and you walked away. And then you went off and you did something and got zero traction. Don't do it. Give your communication division enough lead time. Go talk to them. They know best. And listen to their guidance. If you're working we're in fisheries now. Okay, so if you're working in fisheries, and like, for example, I'm in communication division, I'm not going to go do a fisheries project without consulting, or do a communication strategy for a fisheries project without consulting the fisheries division. So why is it that it doesn't work the other way around? So go talk to your communication division. Make sure you give them enough lead time so that they can tell you what you should be doing. They're best poised to tell you what travels well on what channel. And when they tell you, please break this down, put it in plain English. They're not doing it to frustrate you. They're doing it because they want your message to travel better and to really to get amplified as much as possible. So that is something to bear in mind. And another thing to bear in mind is that a good communication division resists to engage in any kind of self-promotion or propaganda. So that again can become a bone of contention. You may think your event is the best thing after sliced bread. You go and they tell you, well, we can do this and this, because for them it really, they know that it doesn't resonate with the audience out there. So they will try and find other ways to make your event be successful. So take that guidance. They're not doing it to irk the hell out of you. They are doing it because they know what is best. And I want you to know that as UN staffers, your organization is not just the only one who cares about what you do. Marlene mentioned about the UN Social 500 platform. That is a platform that celebrates the work of all of you. And, if you're not familiar with it, make sure you check unsocial500.com. If you do have a social media presence, you will probably see yourself rubbing shoulders with the Secretary General and Amina Mohammed, because you will be on that list. And if you're not, get in touch with your social media colleagues and ask them to make sure you get on that list, because it's just an email away. Just need to write to Toby and say, hey, these are some of our new colleagues who have social media accounts, and then you'll get added there. And you'll be part of that platform as well. Now, I want to finish off with some practical do's and don'ts. And Gauri has prepared a presentation which will go over it as well. It's really too bad she's not here, because Gauri has been a partner in crime in this journey. Okay, so let me start with some practical do's and don'ts. Let me start with photography. Make sure your avatar or your profile picture is a professional one. You are a UN civil servant. So no, you cannot have a picture of you in a bathing suit. It has to be professional. Remember, when you're posting pictures, you have to be respectful of the picture that you're posting of yourself, but also of, if it's a group of people, also of that group of people. Because whatever you put out there is public. Remember, okay? There is no privacy whatsoever. And also be very cautious when you're posting pictures of young children. Yeah? There are different schools of thought on this, but really, really, really be very cautious of that. In terms of copy or content, so your bio, make sure your bio really is a dignified one, tells the outside world what you do. If you need, add a disclaimer to your bio. What you need to make sure is that you're posting content in your area of expertise. Okay? So don't, if you are trying to post content in an area which is not yours, please consult. And that is probably something outlined in your social media guidelines. In the good old days when social media was young and innocent, we had the license of posting, when we were social reporting and it was all live. We had the license of every once in a while letting a typo slip and something that wasn't grammatically correct. That no longer is the case. You need, as UN staffers, you need to make sure that all your posts are grammatically correct and they're coherent. So let's not follow any bad trend from others who post incoherent content. Do not post when you're angry. That also applies to emails, which is part of digital. Yeah? Sleep over it. And for heaven's sakes, don't pick a fight on social. Let me share a story with you. So one of our colleagues, and this is, the story is out in the public domain. So the social media strategist of the World Bank was commuting from her house to her place of work. On the train, she sees an employee of the train eating. Now, evidently in the States, it's forbidden. If you're on duty, you cannot eat. If you're in uniform or on duty, you cannot eat. So what does she do? She pulls out her phone. She takes a picture of this lady who was having a sandwich, posts it on Twitter, saying that the authorities, she was incensed by the fact that this lady was eating and that the authorities have to take action. Now, what she did not know was whether this person was on or off duty. Right? So she had zero context. And on top of it, this person was of color. So you can just imagine. The skies opened. She was accused of discrimination. She lost her job. And she had a book deal, which she also lost her book deal. So, really, was it worthwhile posting that? And if you were doing it, was it worthwhile doing it on Twitter rather than just sending an email? Or like even finding out whether the lady was off or on? And honestly, what difference did it make whether she was eating her lunch or not? Yeah? So these are some silly things that, she probably had a bad day, right? And this was like the last straw. But this is what I'm saying. You do not post when you're angry or when you're upset. And again, this also applies to emails. And you need to make sure you respect diversity. And diversity in every shape and form. The other guidance is do not spam. Like, don't post 55 things all at the same time, Don't target just like one thing and like bombard somebody with your posts. Now, to show your human face, mix personal and professional. This then also tells people that, this person, yes, they're working for FAO, but they also have a personal life. They also have a personal interest. And that's how you manage to also endear yourself to your audience. Most of you here are probably multilingual, so post in different languages. Post in the languages that you're fluent in or less fluent in, provided that it's grammatically correct. But again, that also, shows your depth and breadth. I don't know if we have any bosses in the room, but if we do, you probably have a ghostwriter. Ghostwriters are godsends. We love them. They have learned how to write in your voice. But every once in a while, write yourself. Your voice is your voice. As good as your ghostwriter is, but they cannot fully impersonate you. So, and I know we have ghostwriters in the room, so kudos to you guys for doing this day in, day out. If your children have set up any social media accounts for you, please take charge and know what is it that they've done. Make sure you see what is it that they're posting. There's nothing worse than not knowing, and then suddenly somebody coming and telling you, "Oh, by the way, I saw your post," and you're like, "Oh, gee, what are they talking about?" So, and if you do have multiple social media accounts, make sure you give them, you give all of them adequate love. Yeah. So don't neglect one, and so make sure that all of them are always active. Now, I want to finish off with paying my gratitude. Paying my gratitude to my partners in crime and my mentors. I've been on this journey since 2007, where in this very building we held the first and the only, dare I say, Web 2.0 for Development conference. And it was and we were a group of people who we were first colleagues and then we became friends. I owe my digital presence to my friend and colleague Michael Ricks. And in this journey since 2007, where our organizations, where we were pushing our organizations to embrace Web 2.0, some with a lot of enthusiasm and others with a lot of cynicism, Gary and I were partners in crime. So I'm really sorry that she's not here today, but I really want to pay my gratitude and tribute to her. She has done a marvelous job here, and she has a marvelous team, and I'm sure that it will even get better. I am going to play a little bit of nostalgic as well about the good old days of social media space. And just to finish off and by this food for thought for all of you, the space is no longer what it used to be. We have successfully mainstreamed it, and trust me, I wish we hadn't done so. But in this mainstream space, emulation is not going to take you very far. So if you see an organization has done something, don't go and ask your communication division to do exactly the same thing. That will not fly. What you need to do is you need to innovate. You need to always raise the bar. You need to always take the good of something that has worked and make it better. This is how you can push the agenda, and this is how you can make the space better. Because it is now really bordering a boundary whereby if we keep emulating, we will probably kill it. But if we innovate, then there is hope for it to continue to get better. So think out of the box, bring new ideas to the table, and really be grateful for everything that your organization is putting at your disposal. So with that, I thank you very much, and please to you to tell Gary that I really miss her, and I personally could not have done all of this journey without her. Thank you.
very much, Roxy, for sharing your insights, your experiences, and also for giving us some food for thought. And we do have some colleagues from Gauri's team here that I'm sure they will transmit the very nice acknowledgement that you have made. We would like now to open up for any questions or comments that you may have, either for Roxy or in general for opening up a debate. For our friends online following us from IFAD and from the rest of the world, if you could please type in the fact that you would like to have the word, and then we will give it to you.
And we also have a presentation that we'll go through because Gary had prepared them. So
Yes.
we'll do it after the Q&A.
Thank you. Yes, we do have a presentation, and we also have what you mentioned, the guidelines.
Yes.
The Twitter guidelines, and we will share those as well. So, any comments or thoughts? Yes, please.
Just a quick question. Thank you so much for very useful overview. In the end, you said if you have social media accounts, treat them equally and love them and not neglect them. And I'm not really into social media, and I have, yet I have Twitter account and Facebook account, but I do nothing with them, and I visit them once a year, or 3 times a year maximum. So I'm just curious why. So basically, I'm neglecting them and kind of avoiding them. And so why did you say don't neglect them?
Okay, so like for example, I have my I have my Instagram, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, and my Facebook accounts. Okay, so I try to post different types of content on different platforms because each platform lends itself better for specific things. So Instagram is for photos, right? But I'm lazy, so what I do is whatever I post on Instagram gets also posted automatically on Facebook. Right? But then every once in a while, what I do is I post something different on Facebook, which is not on Instagram, because the people who follow me on these different channels are different. And on Twitter, what I do is I post things that are of substance, the same way with LinkedIn. But if I look at my own traffic, right, my preferred channels are Twitter and Instagram. Mm-hmm. I personally do neglect my my LinkedIn account, which is not good because LinkedIn is the most professional kind of network, and I see it every time I post something there. It gets a lot of traction, right? But because LinkedIn is such a special kind of network, I also have to think, that it has to be something really worthwhile for it to go there, right? So when I am in my lazy days that, it's okay, that's not good because the people there are probably expecting something and I'm not giving them, what they want. So if you're not active on these channels, if you only post like 3 times a year on Twitter, then you should ask yourself, why do I have a Twitter account? Yeah? So, and try and do 1 tweet a day of something that means something to you. And, it's like you will get the hang of it. But honestly, if you don't have it active, you should ask yourself, why do I have it? Do I have it because I want to know what others are doing? That's a fair answer. That's a fair answer. But then there's also expectations from the others from you. Yeah?
Thank you. I would like to give a little bit of online and here. Okay, so we will alternate. I see that IFAD has some questions. Chitra, over to you.
We have a few questions. I don't know if we'll ask, but I'll first let Daniela ask her question. Daniela, it'll turn to you if you speak.
Okay. Thank you, Chitra, and good morning, everybody. Hi, Roxy. I'm happy to see you and glad to thank you and Gauri for including me in the very first of history of social media for IFAD. Actually, at the beginning, we were a very small team, and then we get to the seventh floor of the president, who recognized our work and the importance of the social media channels. Having said that, I'm sure you have noticed that in the past few years I'm no longer as active as I was before. I think that the social media channels have lost a bit of spontaneity, so it's so professional, it's so do's and don'ts, and I don't know. I think this is on one hand an opportunity for growth, on the other one, no longer feel so, how can I say, so willing to post live, because it's too complex, and because I have to edit my post so many times that the moment is gone. So just a reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'll ask a question that I have. So thank you very much, Roxy, and I really appreciate this really important presentation. I think for many of the women, I think when we talked about it, many women are not actually, I think, as present on social media. We're not as comfortable with it, and we've had sessions actually encouraging women to join LinkedIn, etc. So, and you told us about the don'ts, but I was just wondering, can you tell us about the do's in terms of, it's very impressive that you're a top influencer, UN influencer, and so if somebody has those aspirations, what's your advice to them on how they can become an influencer actually in their area of expertise? And then another question, this question, you emphasize the importance of always being dignified and professional, and Daniela, in fact, said she feels so constrained by that. And then you also said, well, you also need to mix the personal. And I've taken the approach of certain channels are purely personal. So if we're linked on Facebook, we are personal friends. If we're linked on LinkedIn, we are professional friends. This is my professional world, and then I have a different face on Facebook. And does that work? Is that an approach? Anyway, just how can we maintain that? Because I think there is a need to have your personal space, I think.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me start with the last question and then work my way up. So the mixing personal and professional, Chitra, is what you described. So yes, Facebook for me also is my personal. So it's I only have 120 friends. So and that's all fair and good. But what I meant by mixing personal and professional is a little bit more than that. So like I use Twitter very much for the professional work that I do. But then at the same time, I also add something personal, like, everybody knows I'm a Formula One fan. So I post, like this weekend, Ferrari won after like eons. So I got very excited and I plastered everything on my Twitter feed was all about the Clark winning the Monza Grand Prix. Or I am, I've lived in this country for the last 40 plus years. There are certain things like, whenever I see a recipe of fettuccine all'alfredo, just like, what the hell? So yes, when I see that, I post it on Twitter, saying, dear world, please know there is no such thing as fettuccine all'alfredo. So give me a break, kind of thing, right? So this is what I mean, mixing the personal and the professional. Or the other day, there was this brilliant article on local.it, whereby they tell about, the 10 things that the Italians do that frustrate foreigners, right? And when I was reading it, it was like, oh my God, this is so true. And basically, I saw myself doing 9 out of 10. The one that I don't do, which still irks me, was the queuing. So when people cut through the queue, right? So what did I do? I tweeted that out and I said, I can relate to all of this. I'm doing all of it except for this one. So this is what I mean, mixing the personal and the professional, yeah? And then there's a fine line. So when Greta got to New York, and she tweeted that she's made it, right? So I didn't have anything personal, but the thing was that it was a personal message to her. Well done, girl, you did it, and hopefully others will follow you, right? So it was that personal touch or tone that would add to the conversation. So that's, that's what I mean by mixing personal and professional. Now, in terms of influencers and areas of expertise, I think, all of us, trust me, I don't aspire to be an influencer because today the word influencer has other connotations, and I personally do not want to be an influencer because influencers today get paid to be influencers. When we embarked on this journey, it was really about amplifying messages, about raising awareness about our issues. So the Social 500 platform is still celebrating that. It is celebrating the people who raise profile of their work and of their organizations. In that, yes, I want to be an influencer. And all of you can be an influencer by talking about your subject of expertise, by sharing your insights, by sharing the work that you do. That's how you can become an influencer. And especially if you have a presence on Twitter. There are times when you walk into a meeting and people come to you and say, oh my God, I know you. And you look at them, I know I'm getting old and I can't remember anybody. And you look at them and it's like, oh, nice meeting you. And they tell you, oh no, I know you from Twitter. And then you feel better, okay, I know I'm old, but I'm not suffering from dementia. So that's how you can be an influencer. To Daniela's point, you're absolutely right, Daniela. As I said, the innocent days of social media are long gone. The days that we could do the live reporting, and yes, the typo could fly, and yes, I could abbreviate, but just so that the other people on the other side could know what was happening, those are gone. And it is very, very sad. So you do see even and I stand to be corrected, you do see less and less of that live reporting. It is very curated, and as such, I don't know. I mean, again, maybe as an early adopter, I still would like it to be like 10 years ago, but it isn't. And you are absolutely right. It is things are then turned out afterwards. Or if they are going to be done during the session, they're all well prepared ahead of time. So, yeah, I know. But that is, I guess that's how we have managed to mainstream it. As I said, I wish we hadn't, but we have. So, but you're absolutely right, then.
Okay, thank you very much, Chitra and colleagues in IFAD. I think, Anna, you had a question.
Yes, I do. I'm from the old school, almost like you. And I remember when email first came, and one of my professors actually said, I told him, I got an email account. He said, email is the best thing next to a piece of bread. That's how he described email. But today, when I look at social media, I have children who are old, and I look at the time commitment, I said, your life is just up to this much. And the time commitment that people spend on it bothers me. And also, even though we are linking ourselves, we are also cutting ourselves off. I take the metro every day, every morning, every evening. The person who sits next to me does not see my face. And I'm asking, what kind of world are you getting into? If there is something has happened, nobody can really describe the person who did that thing, because everybody is trying to this. So I'm just wondering, it's great, it's beautiful that we are all linked in this way, but I think we are losing human touch. We are not touching us. We are not. I mean, it's a bother. I mean, and that's why I said I'm from the old school. When you get into a bus, oh, hi, how are you? We don't do that anymore. It's how do you manage time? How do we let time harness the time to do other interesting things?
That is a challenge for those of you who have young children. I really have a lot of sympathy because it is a problem. It has become a problem, and so I don't know. I honestly do not know. I think as adults we do exercise self-restraint and but children, trust me, I have a nephew who is 15 years old, and I have not, since I don't know what age, since ever, I have not seen him without his handheld device. I know, but I mean that is also part of what happens in the family. So when his grades started slipping, then this thing disappeared, and miraculously he became from a C student, he became like a B plus student, right? But then when he again got hold of his handheld device, it was back to square one. So I know, but I really do not know. I don't have an answer. Also because I personally do not have I don't have children. So, and I wouldn't know if I had children, what would I do? Because the thing is that if you set times, there's also peer pressure. I really have sympathy for parents. But as adults, we can, exercise self-restraint.
And I think we should also try to look at the face of the person who's next to us on the bus and talk to the people. Thank you very much. I think Josephine, are you still there? You asked for the word. The floor is yours. Josephine? Have you gone for lunch? Okay, then we'll have another question here or comment, and then we'll get back to Josephine in case she managed to get back. Yes, Thais.
Yes, you mentioned about the do's and don'ts, and how to also express don't point fingers and member states, etc. But there is, I think, some gray area that is related to the retweeting. Mm-hmm. So I have been exercising a lot the retweeting, in particular of articles, newspapers articles, etc. Just that without any comment. So only for you to understand the situation, I work in forestry, and I come from a certain country that has now been involved in forest fires, etc. So the thing is, that's my way of trying to say, look, I am connected, not voicing my personal opinion because I can't, but using others to, or at least to spread the word about things that are happening. What do you think of it?
So one way of doing this thing is, and you probably have seen this in people's bios, is like retweets don't mean endorsement. Okay, so that's part of your disclaimer. Okay, so in this way you are retweeting, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're endorsing whatever is being said. I think Daniela will attest to this. Ifrad, I am not a great fan of retweets because that's an easy way out. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, a retweet, even though I put it in my bio that retweets are not endorsements, they are, right? It's something that has resonated with me, therefore I have gone through that active act of retweeting. Or I'm lazy and I am not trying to compose something of my own. In your particular case, I don't know, so mine is an assumption. Am I correct to assume that the organization took a stand on this, or the Secretary General did? The SG did?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So the SG is a boss.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, SG is our boss, right? So I think then, that could have been a way of taking his lead and Amina's lead, because Amina also did say something, yeah? Or the head of WM, the meteorological organization. So, and also I know my boss, Inger Anderson, also, So those, then you can, you can try and play around there. You can try and play around there. But again, you have to be, you see, the thing is that self-censor and self-restraint doesn't mean just like closing your eyes. It means trying to figure out an elegant and acceptable manner to say something. And it's a skill. Yeah.
Thank you very much for this concrete example. Ifad has a question. Chitra, over to you.
Hi again. We have another two questions. So one question, I just wanted to get a sense from you of the different media, so the different channels and the different audiences. I thought that would be helpful to our membership. Instagram, is that more for young people? I don't know. And as images, what is it that you can convey? Whereas Facebook, maybe an older audience, etc. And Twitter, it needs to be short. Maybe it's very good to be, certain channels are better for professional, etc. That would be helpful. And then another question, I will introduce a colleague of mine here as well, she actually works for an investigation unit. And just back to the don'ts, so the question I just wanted to pose to Roxy from her expertise with communications, and also Daniela, if you have, but I was wondering, does it make a difference if we post from our personal account versus our professional account? Is that one way of distinguishing? Or also, I guess you can have a different handle and your name isn't there. I just to pose these questions, are these other options for sort of masking your professional identity? So I don't know if any of you have it, but I'll let Roxy take the lead on which question first.
Okay, let me start with the last one. I would never, ever advise anybody having two handles, personal and professional. That's a no-no. You are one human being and you have one handle, yeah? So because also, this thing of leading Dr. Jackie Mester Hyde life is going to come, sooner or later people will figure it out. And actually Twitter will shut you down. If they figure out that you have two accounts, they will shut one of them down. And they will consider it as like a bot, yeah? So don't do that. It's part of the do nots, okay? So again, as I said, I don't think you need two accounts. It's just a matter of finding an elegant and acceptable way of saying what you need to say. And I know this is a skill that doesn't come overnight. And this is where your communication division or a colleague who's a little bit more savvy than you can be of help. I'm trying to think if I can give you an example of my personal thing where I may have exercised that self-censor, but then said what I needed to say. I'm sure I have it, but right now it doesn't come to my mind. But I will look through my stuff, and if I have one, I will share it with the group. Now, in terms of the different channels, there are demographics that show who, the age groups, but that is becoming so fluid nowadays. And I can tell you that Twitter is where politics happens. And I'll leave it at that. And I will exercise self-censor. And so all of the politicians, everybody is there. And it is really where a lot of substance is exchanged, yeah? And the reason why a lot of substance is exchanged is because about 80% of the Twitter presence is public. So you don't necessarily need to follow somebody. You can actually read these tweets if you want to. While on the other, like Facebook, you can't. So Facebook, you need to be somebody's friend to be able to see their posts. The same thing applies to Instagram. Instagram is also public. Like both Instagram and Twitter, users can declare themselves as private. On Twitter, it's the most stupidest thing that you can do. So don't do it. If you have a private account on Twitter, change it. Because honestly, when somebody says, oh my God, this is private, I couldn't care less about this person. You know, so they have nothing to share. They only want to share with their close friends. Why are they on Twitter? They should just go elsewhere and do it in a bar kind of thing. And by the by, this World Bank lady also then made her Twitter account private, which again was the most stupid thing that she could have done. But anyways, I'm digressing. So Instagram, yes, it's for photos. Now, one of the things about Instagram is you cannot embed links on Instagram. So, but at the same time, you can have longer text. So use it when you have a beautiful picture and you want to do an extended caption and what have you. And Instagram also does very well with hashtags, while it doesn't do with embedded links. Twitter, on the other hand, does well both with hashtags, with pictures, with links. So basically, and it's concise. You cannot ramble forever and ever. Like it has, what is it, 240 now?
Yeah, 280, isn't it?
220? Yeah, it has a character limit, right? So, you know, it's really, really, really the best way of communicating. And definitely Facebook is just, you know, for your private stuff. But Instagram, Twitter, together with LinkedIn, are also used for professional. And Facebook also, it can be used for professional if you have a page or if you have a Facebook group. That also can be used as a professional tool as well.
Just to bring back the question, because when you started off, you said privacy is over. And so that's why, and kind of the concern of, you know, let's say if someone posted something on their Facebook account and somehow it was, you know, because sometimes you might post it just to your friends, but then somebody tags it or something, and then it gets out. And so, and then it could get out there without your intention, and then maybe for whatever reason the photo isn't not appropriate, and then, so I'm curious, could you then get fired from that because of that, is the question. I'm getting nods from the people in IFA.
I would say I can't speak to the procedures and investigations, but as mentioned earlier, privacy does never exist.
So then basically, let's say if there was a case at IFA, you as an investigator could access our personal accounts as well as bad email and things of that sort.
It needs to be rather serious. It's not that IFA has access to, you know, privacy does exist to an extent.
Okay.
I can't get into that.
No, that's fine. That's good to know. Thanks.
I think we should clarify that there are two different levels, in my view. I mean, the privacy that you as user of the social media channels can manage. So, for example, for Facebook, you can decide to make your post public, or you may decide to keep it within a smaller circle. And channels where these options are not available, so whatever you post is immediately available in public discussion forum. Having said that, obviously the police authority and including investigators there is a process through which they can get more information about the user, the information of the user of a specific account, but it's not that straightforward. I mean, it's a complex mechanism. I think that as user, we should be more aware of the laws related to privacy, meaning that if I take a picture of this meeting and I publish it on Twitter without telling you that I'm going to post, I may be in trouble. Because it's not that we can all take pictures from any space and publish them on Facebook, on Twitter, or any other channel. So we have to be aware that if something happens and you, the people in the pictures who are not in agreement of having that picture public, I may end up in being in trouble. So that's why when we have events at IFAD, at the beginning, as part of the basic talking points, the moderators always inform the audience that if there are social reporters and that they will take pictures of them during the event, and unless there are any objection to the process, then we proceed with posting of those pictures. If nothing is said, you may end up in being in trouble. Right, Roxy? And on retweeting, I would like to confirm that yes, retweeting is not the best, I would say, use of messages posted on Twitter.
Yeah, on pictures, as I said, honestly, you have to be, you have to be respectful to the people who you're taking pictures of. And absolutely, like, if we are doing live reporting, we give people a heads up, look, we're going to be taking pictures and these pictures will be made available publicly. But then again, you have your common sense. So, if all of our run-based agencies, we do not post pictures of parties where there's food. We just don't do that because it's not good, right? We are working for organizations whereby, we are fighting hunger, we're fighting famine. So, honestly, some of this stuff boils down to common sense. So the lavish parties, I don't think anybody has seen any pictures of lavish parties. And we should never, ever see pictures of corporate lavish parties. Yeah, I mean, if you're at somebody's house, that's something different. But so, and I think we all have our common sense. And Chitra, to your question about tagging, again, it goes back to if I have posted a respectful picture of you, and I have tagged you, then it should be okay. However, though, if this picture is not respectful and I was stupid enough to do it, then yes, I should refrain from tagging, because whatever privacy I set, if I've tagged you, that will be visible.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues Chitra and colleagues in IFAD. I understand you have another meeting coming up in that meeting room and you have to leave us. Thank you all for your participation. We have still some interest, a question from WFP and 2 more from here, so we will continue for another 5 or 7 minutes. Take care and see you soon. Now I would like to give the word to Giovanna Mannucci from World Food Programme, please. You have the floor.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Perfect. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I wanted to talk about what was introduced before as the topic of the teenagers and the new generation. And I found this particularly interesting because I've been having several conversations with teenagers before who had actually told me that in their life, their online presence and their real life presence, it's exactly 2 separate things, but yet one of the same. So the concept for them is, if you're telling me to be present at dinner where we're eating, I'm actually dissociating myself from my online presence where I need to be just as well. So if that is the concept that moves in a completely different direction from our generation, right, with the concept of privacy and trying to keep all the different elements separate, if this is what the new generations are coming up with or are bringing as their life experience, how do we go in the working environment? How do we integrate that? Because if that is their reality, they're soon going to be joining, the working force, and they're going to bring a completely different perspective. So yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. Thanks a lot.
Trust me, that is something that I really do not have an answer to. When I was at UNEP, I had a number of young people working on the social media team. And one of them did like marvelous stuff on Instagram, and so much so that UNEP became the first UN agency that surpassed the 1 million mark of followers. So the way that he managed the corporate account was day and night different from the way that he managed his personal Instagram account. His personal Instagram account was like, okay, Nacho, fine, we know you're eating. Nacho, it's okay. We really don't care about what you're doing. So it was like everything was a story. Everything was a story, right? So fine, he did it. But I honestly was not obliged to watch all of his stories, right? But what he managed to do with the corporate account, hey, I would have hired 25 other Nachos because he got it, he knew it, and he managed to bring that audience that we didn't have. So I would actually see it as an opportunity, and I think based on then the supervision that they receive, they will become an asset to the team, because you don't need people like me doing, managing the Instagram account. So, yeah, because I no longer know what is it that a 25-year-old or a 22-year-old is looking for. But somebody like my Nacho knew what a 22-year-old wanted. So I think that's how we need to play with it. And you are absolutely right. They have dual lives, but their dual lives is still with one handle. The point I was trying to make to Chitra is like, don't get two handles to have dual life. Maybe we should learn from our kids, although I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but.
Thank you. You had a question?
Sorry.
She's on her other line.
No, I was just thinking, content-wise. There was good old days, we inserted lots of things innocently without thinking how things will evolve. But now, with consciousness of today, we delete some of the things and try to remove pictures, etc. Is it removed or it's still
No, it stays. Whatever is on internet stays. Whatever is on Google stays.
There email, Messenger, Facebook.
Not everything stays. Everything stays. And it's like your emails. Your emails don't go away. You can delete them. They don't go away. They stay on the server. They're backed up. Those backup tapes or backup whatevers are kept. So everything stays. There is nothing that goes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roxy. I really enjoyed. And just, I know time is pressing, so my one quick question. I think everybody wants to be the social media expert, including myself. I have my comfortable zone because I very low profile because this is comfortable I am. But I think I want to say more, and so for your view, what is a social media expert in your view, and how can we get there? What can we do to reach there?
What is a social media expert? I don't know what is a social media. I guess a social media expert is somebody who can skillfully craft content that travels well. That's a social media expert. And also craft content every day in a different way. Because if you do it the same way day in, day out, then, it wears out. but every day to come up with something innovative. As I said, we have mainstream. Now the name of the game is innovation. So how can I innovate every day? How can I do something differently every day so that it sticks? Because if we continue doing the same thing, it's like lost in the cacophony of all the other noise. But if you do something different, then that sticks.
Okay, yes, please. Last intervention.
Sorry, thank you for joining. This is very inspiring for us. I'm on the other side. I'm one of the professionals of social media, so I'm one of those addicted to using the phone all the days. I started my presence. I have already presence on all channels, but my Twitter presence also started like you with revolution in my country. So I already started by expressing my political opinions, and I cannot neglect it now. I changed my jobs in 3 organizations. I never mentioned my job in my Twitter account, never mentioned, and now I'm really confused because they are considering me as influencer whenever I go. I'm using it in disseminating the message of our organizations, but is this the point that I should say where I work, or I keep it as it is and I never say where I work?
Okay, so if you look at my Twitter profile, I have never ever said where I work, but I do say I'm a development worker.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I've moved organizations as well, but never ever said where I work. Mine says I'm a development worker, I believe in power of ICT, and I'm a Formula One fan.
Yeah.
But sorry, on LinkedIn you have the information on where you work.
Yeah, on
so if
LinkedIn.
someone does a cross-check.
If somebody does a cross-check, yeah. But honestly, as I said, I neglect my LinkedIn account,
Okay.
right? So for me, my Twitter account is like my Twitter and Instagram, which basically share the same bio, right? I've never said where I work, but I have always from day one said I'm a development worker. Because that's what I take pride of.
Yeah. This is why I also say that I'm interested in digital diplomacy, but I never say where you work.
Yeah. No, I think that's, and again, you're right. So if you have a LinkedIn account, then people can triangulate, and then they figure out where you've been. Yeah, and I remember once I had an intern. Alex may know him, and when he first came, his first day in the job. This is many years ago. He said, yes, I Googled you. And I was like, what did you Google? Yeah, and all of us have a presence. So they Google us, they find out who we are and what we do. So, yeah.
Okay, I think if there are no pressing questions anymore, I would like to thank, first of all, Roxy for your presence. Also, Leah for your assistance. And by the way, I have to inform you that Natalie took some pictures because we were planning on posting some pictures. So if anyone has anything against it, please let us know and we will not post the ones that you are. Thank you, colleagues and friends online. I hope this was useful for you and we will be in touch. Bye-bye.
Thank you.